Hello again, and welcome back to another one. And today we have a couple of topics to cover, as drama's been brewing on the Joe Budden podcast for a while, with what could be described as infighting that is linked to money. As a result, many have referred back to what happened between Joe and Eminem accordingly, based on some statements Joe made about Eminem's situation in the past, and we'll get to more on this in a bit. We also have what looks to be 50 Cent on the receiving end of jokes, this time from a TikTok trend starring his girlfriend, and he's reacted on Twitter. And before we get to it, remember to hit the like button if you enjoy content like this, subscribe if you're new, and find me on social media at ETLifestyle_web. So there's been a trend on TikTok that's been making the rounds, and Cuban Link decided to put her spin on it. You could say she's learned well from 50.
This is your man.
Yes,
Look at the screen.
that's mine. And,
And
I'm gonna stick beside him.
that's what you're gonna settle for.
I'm gonna stick beside him.
And while you get yourself together, that picture is from when 50 got in shape for a role on All Things Fall Apart, where he plays a footballer battling a deadly disease. And in reaction to this, 50 took to Twitter, "This mother done lost her mind. I'ma throw her freaking phone out on the highway." And it's even funnier to see people misunderstand 50 at this point. A user states, "OMG, that movie was a very good movie. OMG, she was trying to be funny, I guess. Don't be too angry. Ask her why, the intent, calmly, laugh it off. It is better to shock someone with an unpredictable reaction of non-pettiness or anger." Someone's concerned and scared for her, but of course he was joking too, and some are asking, who in the rap game has a better sense of humor than 50? Moving on from jokes, drama hit the Joe Budden podcast recently, and word was brought to Crook on Twitter, where a user stated, "Crook, I blame you and the rest of Slaughterhouse for not beating the antics out of Joe years ago, lol." And when Crook asked what this was about, the user dropped a summary with the caption, "Basically, Joe is everything he rants about. I'd say he's even worse." And apparently from a recent episode that was pulled shortly after it aired, the user among other things added this summary. Rory wanted ownership when the Spotify deal came up, Joe said no. Rory wanted to get paid from YouTube, Joe said no. Rory wanted to know the details of the Spotify deal, Joe said no. Joe called Rory entitled for wanting to know the basics of the business. This man's sick. Joe said Rory isn't allowed to question him because he has final say in everything. Joe said Rory tried to audit the JBP and he removed him from Patreon. Now this is just one person's take on the episode that was pulled. Some agree and some disagree. And Crook responded with, "All this happened? Damn." And another user dropped a clip of Joe firing Rory from the podcast.
"You are fired."
But while this was going on, many have now referred back to what went down in the past involving Joe Budden, hence Eminem was brought into the conversation. And since this was fueled by money, a user expands, "I remember Joe saying, 'When I eat, my homies eat.' When he was going off on Eminem, he's changed wildly, since now he's reportedly calling the homies entitled for wanting to know more about the business." And in reaction to this, a user adds, "And Mal was sucking up to Joe Budden when he said it, how the tables have turned." And following the pattern of Joe Budden falling out with friends/associates and airing it out in public, many have called for accountability on his part. After a user states, "The whole JBP situation is simple. These dudes overplay their hand and have the nerve to catch an attitude. That whole nonchalant 'I'm too cool to do this and that, but think you're clever enough to navigate your way into some equity is all BS." A user responds with, "But then again, we only know things from Joe's side. It can't always be everyone's fault except Joe's. It was Def Jam, Eminem/Shady, Complex, Spotify, now Rory and Mal. When does Joe Budden start taking some accountability for bad business behavior?" On this issue, another added, "Joe Budden keeps blaming Def Jam, Jay-Z, Shady/Eminem, and now Mal and Rory for everything. No accountability." Crook reacted to the clip of Joe firing Rory and stated, "Wish them brothers well. Also, this gives me an idea." And Eminem once again was cited multiple times in the replies. This came full circle. Joe versus Shady for money. Now the pod versus Joe for money. Funny how the exact things he preaches about, transparency, owning your own, getting your value, and contract language, are the exact thing Rory and Mal asked for, and he blows it up instead of evolving. And upon seeing the trend of drama flowing Joe, some are advising Crook, "Crook, I love you, Royce and Joel. Please don't do business with Joe never again, please. He's a traitor. I don't want your feelings be hurt again." Now, regardless of who you support in situations like this, one thing remains constant, and that's Joe. Joe had a falling out with Jay-Z, G-Unit, Royce the 5'9", yup, it happened. Spotify, Complex's everyday struggle, Eminem, Spotify, Charlemagne, and now Rory and Mal. The dude is a habitual bridge burner, he plays the victim very well. In this case, in Joe's defense, a user states, the owner of your job has no obligation to open the books for you. You accept a salary for work performed. It's a shame friendships were ruined, but he doesn't owe them anything outside of what's in the contract on the business end. Funny because this take can be used against Joe when he was on the receiving end playing the victim in the past and calling for transparency himself, hence why his hypocrisy has been highlighted like I showed earlier about what Joe preaches. And the user expands, kind of amazing to see so many think you're supposed to sit there and play your role. So as the pod became bigger and more equitable, Rory and Mal weren't supposed to aspire for more, only Joe? That's an interesting take in my opinion. How I see it, no surprises here, the trend of Joe continues regardless of the details. He's got a trail of bad blood and it's always the other party's fault. But over to you guys, share your thoughts below and see you on the next one.